Am I gone? Good. Who am I? Well, who was I? Would like to get a better term. Right now I'm on a journey. It's not a very pleasant one. It isn't one I look forward to, but it's a journey I have to take. But before we go on with the journey, let me tell you a bit about me. I was born on a fairly big farm. My mother and father, we were well off, really, considering the people around us. And they raised me very godly. It pains me to think about that, Anyway, one older brother, he's a very studious type, He works, and he works, and he works, and, well, he thought I should do the same thing. But you know what? I was the last one born, so why should I do much? I was the youngest in the family. And besides that, I know the law. The law says that he gets 2/3 of everything. I only get one. So I wasn't overly productive as a worker, I guess not. Should have been, no. My father was extremely kind. Extremely kind. My mother, there is no other. But as I started growing up, I got to that age, When I was younger, my father and mother could do no wrong. My brother, that was a different story. But then as I got into my, 13th year, all of a sudden they took a plunge in my idea of intelligence. Their ways were old-fashioned ways. We don't do things like that today in the modern society that I lived in. You know how it is. You just plain and simply think you know better, that's all. That's the bottom line, isn't it? We're old fogies, what do they know? We're young, what do we not know? Plenty. We don't know plenty. Anyway, one time when I was about 14, my father said we have to go into one of the bigger centers because I have some stuff to sell. And he said, you and your older brother, we'll go together. I thought, if I can work for a while, I guess that won't be too bad. But when I got into the big place, I wouldn't really call it a city, just a rather large town. But the things that were there, the people that were there, the clothes, the things they did, man, how could I ever stay home on the farm? But I was only 14. But I remember I seen a bunch of commotion over here in the corner, so I went over, and he was a guy all smartly dressed in satin. I guess they call him a conjurer or something. He did magic tricks. I watched him, and I watched him. Oh, he just seemed to be so, what would be the word, cool? Yeah, he was cool. So I watched him for a while, and he watched me. And when he was done, he came over to me and he said, what a place. And I said, man, I've never seen anything like this before. He said, of course you have. This is small. Man, you should see the city. The city. Oh. So, he said, you know what? How old are you? I said, I'm 14, almost 15. And he said, well, you know, in a couple more years, you'll be able to strike out on your own, won't you? I thought about it. I guess I'd never really thought about doing that before. Yeah, I could likely. But, he said, oh, don't forget this. You got to have money in the city. No money, no funny. That's it. I said, well, how am I supposed to get money? How am I supposed to get money? Well, that kind of sat on my mind for a while, you know. A couple of years. And then I said, well, I have a plan. I don't think it's ever been done before, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I went to my father, and I said, Dad, can I have a talk with you? He said, sure. And I said, Dad, you know I really don't like this farming life. He said, I know. I never did like it. I said, Dad, I want to go someplace where there's more excitement, where things are different. And he said, let me guess, son. You want to go to the city? I said, how did you know that? Well, he said, I saw you talking to that conjurer there a couple of years ago. I saw you. I know what it's like for a young boy in this age. Sound familiar? So he said, well, what do you propose we do? I said, Dad, could you just give me the 1/3 of the inheritance that I would have coming to me upon your death instead of waiting? There's a key word, isn't it? Don't we live in a generation that doesn't want to wait for anything? So, my father was visibly shaken by the whole idea. But he looked at me with a tear trickling down his face. And he said, that's what you really want. I do. Oh, I do. My older brother, he was not impressed with that idea, I'll tell you. But what could he say? My father, he was the one that had control. So reluctantly, my father gave me 1/3 of all of his wealth, all of his animals, everything, 1/3. You know what I did? The very next week, I went and sold all the things that couldn't lug with me, and I got the money. And then I said, Father, I am leaving. It was hard. But I had the money. So Despite his tears and my mother's tears and my brother's anger, I left. Found a caravan that was traveling to a big city, and I just couldn't wait to get there. Took quite a long time. We don't travel very fast when you travel on a camel. It's not like today where you jump into your car. There was no cars. Ox cart as close as you would come to a car. So, I finally got to the city. Wow. And you'll never guess who I run into in that city. That same guy that was the conjuring at that big town I was in before. And he come over to me and he goes, well, he said, you look familiar to me. And I said, oh yeah, I remember you. You're the guy that was at that town. Remember, I was that little kid that was talking to you. Oh yes, he said, yes. Did you forget my last statement? I held up the big bag of money and I said, no, sir, I got the cash. He said, let's go. So the first thing he did, he said, you got to get rid of those hickey clothes you got on. Like, man, that's all they speak about is the fact that you're from the hills someplace. You need something smooth, satin, silk. Look at me now. Anyway, we went to a store. We had some made. Wow. Tailor-made. I looked at the price and I said, isn't this a little expensive? Don't worry about it. He said, you get lots of money. Don't worry about it. So, he said, now we need to find a place to stay. Can't live out in the street. That's what the beggars and other people do. So we went to this rather plush place. And he said, this is where we will stay with you. And you know, when I started out, I had some morals. But it's strange, you know, you get around people that they don't have many, and I believe the Bible says that bad company corrupts good morals. True. Well, we were into all of the brothels. We went to the finest restaurants money could buy. Oh, this went on for a long time. Long time. Then one day I started noticing that my bag of money was really getting pretty small. So I told him, I said, you know what, I think we really needed to move out of this place and maybe find a place that's not quite so expensive. And he goes, well, you go right ahead. I'm not leaving here. You just go right ahead. Fair weather friend or what? So I went out and found a place where my money would last a little longer. Then a famine came on the land. And things that we used to buy for next to nothing, you couldn't buy no matter what you had. Finally, I had no money. Landlord said, out you go. We don't want no bums around here. I said, well, what am I supposed to do? He pointed out to the street and said, you see that fellows out there? Well, those are beggars. Yeah, out. So to say I was downcast would be an understatement. I went out and somebody said, hey, why don't you sell those fancy clothes you get on? You should be able to get a few dollars out of those. Yeah, a few dollars. I got about 1/10 of what I paid for them, which amounted to very little. Well, then I had no place but the street, begging. Begging. Pretty hard to beg from people who have nothing. And finally, I found myself in one of the worst predicaments I could possibly imagine. I went to this farmer and I said, "Can you not find some place for me to live?" He goes, Yeah, you can live out in the pig pen. The pig pen? I thought living on the street was bad. Isn't it funny, when you start to fall, how far down you fall, no matter how far up you were. And I was sitting there, I remember looking at those ugly pigs, and I was thinking, boy, wouldn't I love to have some of that slop that they're eating, so I could at least have something in my stomach. But if you read the Bible says no one gave me anything. You see this, I'm directly out of the Bible, I'm just embellishing it a little because you guys don't know the facts, so maybe I can embellish them some. Anyway, I sat there in my absolute misery. And it was like somebody spoke my name. And they seemed to say, "Isn't it strange that you have nothing, and yet one of the menial laborers on your father's farm, like he has lots to eat every single day?" So then I thought, how do I go back to my father and my family when I treated them so shameful? So it took me a long time to decide. But then my stomach sort of said, you know what? You're either going to go someplace, you're going to starve to death. Make up your mind. Pride is a very poor meal because it goes down hard and there's always gas later on. So I said, well, okay, all right. You see, this is where you guys met up with me. This is what I'm doing now. I'm on my way to see my father with not just a little anticipation. Because I don't really know what he will say to me. Regardless of what he says, I would just tell him, I'll say, Father, look, how about if you just disown me? Just disown me and just let me. Just let me live here. I have a place to go. And food. I'm on my way. I shall return. I'm going to see my father. I don't know what he'll say. I'll be back. Hopefully better off than I'm leaving. Look at this! Oh, I got to tell you about when I met him. He was expecting me back, so I'll try and be brief. As I traveled up the road, I thought I could see somebody in the distance, a long ways off. I didn't know who it was at first. Then when I did know who it was, I started to become a little alarmed because I knew it was my father. I hadn't seen him for so long. I just looked at him. And he come rushing over to me with such exuberance. And he threw his arms around me. And I said, Father, I have sinned. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. You just take me back as a farm laborer, and you will find that I have the ability now to work. My father just totally ignored all of that. And he said, hey, bring the shoes over and put them on his feet. Look at that. You know how long it's been since I've had shoes on. Put the ring on his finger. This is the family ring. And put the robe on. No more burlap bags. And then he said something even more extraordinary than that. He said, hey, kill the fatted calf. Let's have a party. And I thought, Father, please, don't you think you're overdoing this slightly? I mean, I don't deserve any of this. And he looked at me. He never said anything. But he looked at me almost with the look of, you're happy right, you don't. But there was no condemnation. No condemnation. I was guilty, but he looked right past my guilt. Well, we were at the party. We were having a pretty good time. Then I seen out of the corner of my eye, I seen my brother outside. Oh, he was angry. He hadn't really changed a whole lot since I'd seen him last. And I remember my poor father. He went up and tried to talk to him. So I know you're not supposed to eavesdrop, but I just had to have some idea what they were saying, so I kind of snuck over by the window. And this is what they were saying. My brother said, how dare you, Father? This wastrel who took all of your money and wasted it with harlots and everything else, and he comes home and you throw him a party. I have been here for years. I never ever refused to do anything you wanted me to do. And you wouldn't even give me a goat so I could make merry with my friends. No, I will not go in. And then my father said something that was absolutely tremendous. My father said, son, everything I have is yours. But this brother of yours, he was lost, and now he is found. How can we not rejoice? He still would not come in. And my brother changes to him a little later on, not much. He never ever thought much of me, but you know what? The point I'm trying to make is just simply this. What is this story all about? This story is all about us. All about us. You see, the problem is, so many of us don't realize we're in the pig pen because it doesn't look like a pig pen to us. We think that's pretty good. But the Father is saying, if you will come home, I will show you what a home is like. I wish I could somehow just say the right word, but I can't. It is not me that speaks. If I'm the only one that's speaking, then you guys might as well just waste your time listening to me. God has a plan for each and every one of us. He loves us more than we can possibly envision or imagine. And you see, we are out wandering through the cities and the towns and stuff, and we think, I have it all together. What do I need God for? I have money in my pocket. I have clothes on my back. I have food in my cupboards. I have a job. I have a vehicle. What do I need God for? What do you need Him for? You need Him for this. You see, your vehicle and your job and your money and all your things, they're good down here, but they're of no value up there. And you see, someday we're going to stand before God, and He's going to look us right square in the eye, and He's going to say, you know, my son died for you. Everyone's. And He died so that you could live. And you see, the problem is that we think we're living now. We're doing fine. If I seem to be heavy, it's because it's a very serious subject. Because you see, the decisions we make here, and as Mark was talking about this morning, they are free will decisions. Nobody can force you to accept Christ as Savior. Nobody can take Christ away from you except for you. You're the only one. What it all boils down to in the long run is the song I think we should sing. And the song is basically this: I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. What are you going to turn back to? I can tell you that I have nothing to turn back to. My life was a misery. My life was a misery. But I didn't have enough common sense, even though I had been raised here, I didn't have enough common sense to realize that God has a plan for your life which is far greater than anything you can imagine. But He will not kick the door in. Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. You hear me knocking? If you hear me knocking, then open the door and I will come in and sup with you and you with me. And that is called fellowship. I could go on for quite a while, but I don't think that's what I should do. I'm really glad that you guys came out tonight. I really am. And if you are looking, then be ready, because the Father has been looking for you all of your life. Amen. He's been out on that road looking. And all He wants to see from us is hear Him. That's all He wants. So I have decided to follow Jesus. No turning back. Yes, I will. I have to get up. I'm sorry. I've seen you try to get up a few times. I'm all done. I'm all done.